Live from Owings Mills, Maryland, it's the Max Fortune Show. Whether it's becoming a success by achieving your dreams and goals, growing your business, or unlocking your full potential, the Max Fortune Show specializes in helping you maximize your fortune. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Max Fortune Show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Max Fortune Show. And today we have a very special guest joining us on the Max Fortune Show. He is an accomplished author, a keen social commentator, and a thought leader in the realm of personal and societal dynamics. He's a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, the former mayor of the city of Glenarden, and the founder and CEO of DJ Williams and Associates, Inc. And his latest book is The One and Only, Trials and Tribulations of an Ebony Man. He's captivated readers with his profound exploration of love, desire, and personal growth. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Donjuan Williams.
Get it right now. Get it right now. Get it right now.
Get it right.
Get it right.
Dr. Donjuan Williams. Dr. Williams, it's an honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
You know what? I want to start off by just kind of having you tell me a little bit about your background and where you grew up, or let us know about that.
Well, I was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and family moved to Washington, D.C. for a short period of time, and then we moved to Glenarden in 1966, January. I remember it well. Glenarden had dirt streets at that time, and in Glenarden Woods, Dillwood Avenue. My father's still there, God bless his soul, and I grew up there. Went to Glenarden Woods Elementary School, Windward Middle School, and the famous Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenbelt, Maryland. Okay, then graduated, and then I started my educational journey through different colleges and played basketball in Catonsville and Salisbury. And then eventually I went to Bowie State and got my first master's, and then later on I went and got 3 more masters, some Webster's, and a doctorate degree. So education is one of the things that I really stress, and because one time I tried to apply for a job and they said, you didn't have the criteria, you didn't have the key to open that door. So I said, I'm never going to be in a position again not to have a key to open the door to get to a job I want to have.
Wow. Can you share with us some of the key moments that's kind of shaped your who you are today?
Well, as far as running for politics was a key moment, and becoming mayor at a young age at 33, that was a key moment. Joining Kappa Alpha Psi and having mentors like Dr. Henderson and Dr. Ike Trout helped me become a man. And because as a young man and a young mayor, I found myself always having to try to prove myself. Right. Everybody thought I shouldn't have been there. Matter of fact, our famous in the Glenarden community was Mr. Smith. His daughter Roya owns the Horse and Dickies and the barber shop and he owned the barber shop, and he was my barber for years. And I was on the city council, and I think I was 31, 32 years old. And he came to me, he said, son, you're good, but it ain't your time. It ain't your time. You need to wait a while to run for mayor. And when I turned 33, after my 3rd term on the city council. And I said, Mr. Smith, who made you the timekeeper? He looked at me like son, who are you talking to? I'm saying, who made you the timekeeper? Why is it not my time? What are you telling me? Go to school, get your education, but wait 20 years to use it? I wasn't feeling that. So I ran, and I won against all odds, taking out an incumbent.
Wow.
So anybody know politics, taking out an incumbent is very hard to do. So, but I worked and helped with frat brothers, and it was very successful.
Wow. So you mentioned some people here, but who would you say are some of your biggest influences or mentors?
My father, number one. My father was the biggest one because he inspired me. He retired when he was 40 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he retired. Worked for the U.S. Census Bureau, and he was 40 years old. Retired. Went back to work as a contractor for 3 years, and then never worked another day in his life. And I thought that was inspirational and achievement. Now, I didn't get to do that like he did, but I was still inspired to do that. I was able to retire at 60, but nevertheless, he was my greatest influence. And now he's a man, again, didn't have the education back then, but he made sure all his kids got an education, at least a bachelor's degree. So he's home now. He's not doing well, age, as we all, parents of my age are getting up there. So God bless him every day.
Let's talk a little bit about your workforce experiences. So tell me a little bit about that.
I did a lot of things. At 16 years old, I was laying bricks on a brick line. And I remember the guy telling me, being labor, lifting the bricks and helping him and being an apprentice bricklayer, he said, son, you don't want to be in your 40s and 50s doing this. It's good money, but it's a backbreaker. Get your education. Get your education. So that was very influential in my young life. I've done everything from patch potholes in the street, working for the city of Bladensburg at 16, to join the Army as an enlisted person and became an Army officer after 19 years and retired after 28 years in the Army. So I reserved it about 8 years active, the rest 20 years reserves. And got deployed overseas 3 times. So, but I've been a basketball referee for 40 years, 41 years to be exact. Social worker, 15. Worked for a governor. Worked for the Congressman Albert Wynn, Governor Paris, as a director in his office, and district director for Albert Wynn. So I've been blessed, and of course I was a 3-term mayor and a 4-term city council member.
You know, you were also featured as Ebony Magazine's one of the most eligible bachelors. And when year did that happen? When did that happen for you?
1996, June 28 years.
Wow.
This month,
Wow.
June 1996.
So what was that experience like?
Well, it was like being a kid in a candy store.
How so?
Well, when you eat too much candy, you don't want candy anymore, right? So it taught me a lesson. All that glitter does not gold. Be careful what you ask for. You may get it. And at that particular time, it was like a job. You know, I was working full time with the governor. I was mayor of the city of Glenarden. First 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I got 400 letters a day. See, back then you got letters, not emails. You got letters.
You had to open those up and read
Open
them.
it up, read them, and whatever. So I got 300 or 400 a week for the first 6 to 8 weeks. So, you know, with the Christian value that I had, and still do have, that I responded to every last one of them, at least one time.
Wow.
So spending money on stamps.
What were the letters? What were the letters?
Well, showing they saw your picture, they were interested in getting to meet you, and so forth and so on. So around about over the 6-year period, because that's when they stopped. Matter of fact, now if you look at it, they stopped after 6 months. And one of the guys who took the picture of me in the magazine said, you're going to do very well. I said, what you talking about? He took it in my office. And he said, I've been doing this for, his name Fred Watkins, the official photographer for Ebony. He said, you're going to do pretty well. And I didn't think it, because at the time I was interested in somebody. And she was rather older, but she wasn't interested in getting married. I was 33, 34 turning. So I asked her, is it okay? And she said, you should do that because you bring highlight to your city. So I did. And then when I did it, got a little notoriety. She you know, Like some women do. They say one thing and mean another. So.
Yeah. So you were doing that while you were also the mayor. So you were featured as that mayor. So you're kind of doing.
Yes, sir.
Doing both of those. So how were you kind of keeping all that together? How were you kind of
time management skills? Wow. Time management skills. For the most of my life, when people sit here and talking, I've always had one full-time job and 4 or 5 part-time jobs.
Wow.
So I've been, whether I was mayor, which considered a part-time job, but it really is a full-time job because you're always on call. I worked at that time I worked for the state as either a social worker or for the governor, or Albert Wynn full-time job in Congress. So, and then I was a basketball official doing varsity and high school basketball. Then I was Army Reserve. Then I was also a life insurance agency. And like I said, always working 4 or 5 part-time jobs at the same time as working a full-time job and going to school. Too.
So with all of that going on, and I just want to circle back to the Ebony Man magazine, was that an experience that you would, I guess, recommend to other people, or what were your thoughts on that?
Be careful what you ask for. I would say just be careful what you ask for. Yes, it was great for attention at the time, but again, it comes, especially now, with attention comes controversy, comes crazy people stalking you. It's an issue. So I can't say I recommend it. I'm not going to say I don't recommend it, but be careful if you seek it, which I didn't even seek this. It's funny how it all came. I was away at a conference, and at that time my secretary called me and said somebody from Ebony magazine saw our press release being the youngest mayor in the state of Maryland at the time, at 33, and they asked me was I single, and she knew I was single. She said, so they asked would you want to be featured in this issue? Why not?
Yeah.
That's how it turned around.
Wow. So you know what I'm going to do? I want to now kind of pivot into this book you just wrote, and I'm curious as to how your personal journey influenced the themes of your book, The One and Only.
Well, the book is a novel, so let's put it right there. It's a novel, but it's based on a true story. Some of the experiences I had. So they embellish, so it's not my life. It's not a biography, but one calls it now biofiction. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but a lot of the things may have happened in the book, but it may have been a different twist. Okay. So I thought it would be good reading, and from the feedback that I got thus far, people are very pleased with it. And if you like Zane or Michael Bazin, you will love this book.
So it's a salacious type style. It's got some of those elements in there. Is that
absolutely. So, absolutely.
So let me ask you this: what was the inspiration behind writing The One?
Well, I wrote it because I was in the magazine and I've been watching for years, and there was never a backstory of what happened to everybody who's been in the magazine. You never hear of a story. At least I did research. I never found a story of anybody wrote about their experiences, fiction or nonfiction. So I thought it would be a good tool to write, never knowing that I will ever get back in politics again. So that's why it became, instead of a true story, a novel. Because when I wrote it, hey, I may or may not get back into politics, so I don't want anything to come back to bite me. So I made it clear it's a novel, but based on a true story.
So let me ask you this: the main character is DJ, and so I want to know what what inspired the character DJ in the book?
Me. I was the inspiration for the character, and the character is a character that started off with low self-esteem, and he rises up to become a leader in the community. So I wanted people to understand that no matter how you are now, it's not where you are, it's where you're going. And when I first started my journey into public service and public life, putting two words together was a problem. I had a stuttering problem.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't talk when I first ran for city council. Putting words together was a problem because my mind was racing, but my mouth couldn't catch up to it. So I would stutter. And then I went back to school and took some speech classes that helped. So no matter what I wanted to say to invoke them on people, don't worry about any inefficiencies that you have. You can overcome them. You just got to work at it. Recognize it. Don't hide from it. I mean, today, our President of the United States, President Biden, he has a stuttering problem. Slightly, you don't see it all the time, but it's there. But it didn't stop him from becoming the President of the United States.
Yeah.
So you may have things that you're not comfortable. Me, when I was growing up, I had a serious, bad acne problem. So I thought I was less of a man than myself, or a child, because I didn't think I looked as good as I wanted to, because spots all over my face, because I couldn't understand why I would wash my face and still come up with knots. I ain't little pimples, it was knots at the time. So I took some treatment at the time with Accutane, and I'm getting personal because I think people need to know that. I think people need to know that whatever it is wrong, or you feel it's wrong, or whether it's fat shaming, skin tone, whatever the case may be, it's okay to recognize it and deal with it. And you can deal with it any way you want to, but ultimately, you just got to be able to please yourself. Not for anybody else, but just please yourself.
Wow. That's a great advice for a lot of people, and I think that the world we live in today with social media, and so there's so much more pressure for I guess people to weigh in on how you look and what you're doing, what you're not doing, and so these things that we didn't have to necessarily deal with, and because peer pressure was one thing when it was, I guess, there, but when it's happening even broader, that's a whole nother thing. What I do want to ask you, how do DJ's experiences kind of reflect the broader societal issues and disorders or personal dilemmas?
I think DJ experience is coming from a person. There's two types of people and men that I've known. You got the alpha men and you got beta men. And then you have women who are aggressive, and then women who are, shall we say, for lack of a better word, old school, expect men to chase after them. DJ's experience is one which, from college on up, never had to be in a position to chase after a woman, tell lies to get a woman, like a lot of men do. Let's face it, they do. They just say what a woman want to hear in order to get their attention, and then they keep their attention for a little while, and then once they feel they conquered them, then allow them to move on. Now, I'm telling anybody what they don't already know. That's a fact. Now, does that happen to everybody? No. But everybody don't have the gifts of discernment to determine who's doing what, when, and how. And I guess we need to have lessons on how to discern the grifters and the people who want to take advantage of people. And that's men and women, because women do the same thing to men.
Right.
Like I put on my Facebook page, some women are gold diggers, but to be a gold digger, you have to find somebody who had gold. Most of us don't have the gold, so these women are coin collectors instead of gold diggers. You know, so but men, they do the same thing. And when you see grown men taking advantage of women, or because their self-esteem is low, or they have multiple children and don't think they can get another man, so they move in a man and they wind up taking care of a man as a child. But see, some women say they want men, but they really want boys, because a man won't just move in if you're not paying any bills or whatever the case may be. In my opinion,
I agree with you.
because it's out of order. So, not everything highly just out of order is not natural. So, a woman, not a woman findeth a man. And I think some of the women out here, they're looking for a man instead of waiting for a man to find it them. And it's out of order.
Wow. So what are you kind of mentioned on some of these, I guess, what are some of the indicators? Like, I guess, kind of little side question just as far as, I guess, women who would, discern between the guy who's got the good intentions or the guy who is really just out to game them or whatever.
Well, you asking me what are some of the symptoms or the indicators of, well, I would say this, and I'll take this for men or women, so I'm not going to be, I'll keep it gender neutral. Consistency. One, if a person, female or man, are not consistent, meaning if you contact them, they ain't contacting you back, or ghosting you, or contacting you whenever, or don't return a call in a timely manner, and I say timely, within 24 to 48 hours, because people say they're busy. Everybody's busy. Right. The issue is, are you a priority to them? And if you show you don't get back on a phone call or text or within 24 to 48 hours, you're telling me I'm not your priority, right? That's what it's telling me. And it's okay. So I got to recognize that as an individual and say, all right, move on to the next person. But some people can't see the flowers through the trees, and they try to make something when it's nothing to be made of. So therefore, it's important, as I see it, to do a self-awareness, do a situation awareness, and realize things are what they really are, not what you really want them to be.
You know, that's really, really important thing that's almost worth repeating again. Just because, like you said, those indicators, and I think so many people, when somebody kind of backs away, then they kind of come forward, and so it's like, it's weird that, when somebody just feels like they're, some people call it ghosting or whatever, but
that's what it's
other
called.
Person seems to want the attention even more. And so, but you're kind of putting it on, which is very important to know, the toxic nature of that you're pursuing, or I always say if you're chasing after somebody, that means somebody's running away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Think about it.
Yeah. So,
in order to be chased, somebody got to be running.
Right.
And if you don't want to be caught, sometimes you do, but most times you won't, because you know how to maneuver and get away, especially men better than ever. And there's so many ways they can throw somebody else in the face and somebody get upset. But then, when you play those games, then people can it becomes dangerous and hurt, especially in this side, because you see so many volatile relationships, and people carrying it more than what it should be, because some of the things are just, hey, I'm going to hurt you or somebody to get you to love me. Does that make sense?
No.
Why did you kill this person? Because she was with somebody else, or he was with somebody else. So that means you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail over somebody who didn't care about you in the first place. But see, that's rational thinking.
Right.
But guess what? Most love is not rational. You can't control who you love or you don't love, for the most part. If it's in your feelings, it's in your feelings. So the best way to do is try to control your feelings. We call it, in my counseling, when I counsel people, manage expectations. If you manage the expectations, then you never go wrong. Now, you can have clarity, and just because somebody says something, it is today, don't mean it's that same way tomorrow. But when somebody says something, oh, I'm not doing this, and then they say, okay, they said it one time, and it's 3 months or 6 months, and they, well, you told me you wasn't doing this. Okay, well, maybe I wasn't doing this at that time, but it evolved, I did. Well, why didn't you tell me? Good question. And I think you already know that answer.
I think you hit on something else that I want to touch on. This, it is an important thing to know when it comes to relationships, or this is a book about relationships. It's a book about the relationships that you had, and I think
no, not I had. The DJ.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
DJ, right? My bad on that. But I do say that the only way to avoid disappointment is adjusting your expectations, or checking in and just really paying attention. Let me ask you also, what kind of messages? We're kind of already going into some of this, but what kind of messages do you hope to convey with DJ, or through DJ's journey, rather?
Pay attention. Be vigilant. Live your life. Do what you want to do when necessary, what somebody else wants you to do. We tend to get in relationships and lose our self-identity because of somebody else. And that could be a man or a woman. So generally, you're going to hear me speak, I'm going to be universal. And if you, of whatever sex you are in, and you're receiving this message, you can make that determination. Does the shoe fit? So don't lose yourself in a relationship. Don't let anybody tell you who your friends should be and who your friends not. Don't let anybody tell you, because that's control. And once somebody has control over your mind, then they can have control over your body. All right. Booker T. Washington said, I don't have to tell you to go to the back of a bus if your mind already tells you to go to the back of the bus. So, your body will follow the mind. Right. So therefore, and for men, I would tell them, don't look at necessarily the beauty of a woman per se, but get into the mind. Find where the mind is, the beauty of the mind. Now again, men are more visual in general than women. So you like what you like, and you don't like what you like. I got that. But it'll always be superficial if that's what you focus on. The mind is, if you get the mind and get into her mind and get her to follow, not get her to follow, but have her follow the ways in which you like to do business, how you like to interact. If it's fitting, if that person want to be around you, then they'll start liking some of the things that you do, whether they liked it or not, and vice versa for men. Mm-hmm. If they're not willing to do that, then that should tell you something. I may not like tennis, but if a girl I'm dating or married to likes tennis, then she wants to go to a tennis match, at some point I need to be involved and go with her. Because once you give a person, I don't care man or woman, telling me what you're not going to do or will not do, then you open them up space for them to find somebody to do it with them, what they like to do. So, if you're going to be there, compromise. Even if this is something that you not want. And that's man and woman. But we got too many times people in relationships, oh, I don't do that. don't like football, so I ain't gonna watch football with you. So they'll find somebody who do. Because guess what? There's women who like football.
Right.
And women, hey, I'm going shopping. And men be like, no, I don't want to go shopping with you. Okay. If you don't do it, eventually somebody's going to find somebody, and it could be a man or a woman, they're going to take them shopping. So the bottom line is, it's about compromise. And realize that, everybody's is not for everyone. And that's okay. We tend to want to force some things when there's nothing there. And I had mad respect, been there, done that, but people say, hey, I like you, but you're not for me. And I'm good with that. Still, we can be friends. I got friends for life like that. We got some people, or I'm not where they are at the time what they want to be.
Right.
So instead of just killing a relationship and whatever, no, we can be, because you know what? I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know how I'm going to feel. So I don't want to kill a relationship because I'm not there where you are right now. But a lot of men don't, and females don't think about that. But you got to be able to maintain where you are and set your boundaries.
No, I agree with you there. And I think what's important to also note, or one of the things I'm pulling away from that, and I think it's important for people to know, is that it's important to know if somebody's not for you or not, I would imagine. You know what I mean? Because then you don't spend time wasting time or in a relationship that's not.
That's right. Time is
that's
precious.
Not going to work, in the long run. Let me ask you, with the story of DJ and the novel, how much of this is true and how much of this is fiction?
That's the $64,000 question.
The $64,000 question.
Well, I challenge everyone to just read it. And then, at some point in time, I would disclose it. And individual or whatever. But I don't want to say at this particular time. As I talked to someone this morning who started reading the book, they said, well, this is very intriguing. This is very, very, you're a good storyteller. Well, if I tell the story ahead of time, then maybe be less intrigued.
Right.
So I will just say, it's a novel, but it's based on a true story.
So it's a blending of all of that to entertain.
It's entertaining.
And
That's right.
To keep people going. So let me ask you also, how did you go about developing some of the themes of love, desire, and even the personal growth that DJ goes through in the book?
Experiences, different experiences throughout the different relationships that DJ had and I had. So, and then I looked at other people had. So put those together, being that what I saw in other relationships that I may have wanted for myself, but couldn't perform it or didn't want to perform it or whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, just looking at other people, my life story and seeing what I went through, and just came together.
So, I'd like you to kind of talk about the importance of nurturing meaningful relationships. That's a big part of the theme of this book. And so talk about that, what the importance of nurturing relationships.
I think it's important because, especially from a men's perspective, men don't necessarily look for a friend in a woman at first. They're looking physical, and they're looking like, well, daggone, how can I smash that person? I mean, that's
Really?
that's what men do. Whether they want to admit it or not, that's the first thing that comes in their mind. They don't say, damn, that girl could be a best friend of me for life for the rest of my life. No, that's not what But think about it. If most men start looking at that way as a relationship, as a person that we can start off as a basic friend, and then grow to that. So that means don't do anything to anyone that you wouldn't want done yourself. All right, that's basically what a friend is. Also, a friend would be, as I see it, is that if you can help someone, that person shouldn't have to ask you if you see that person's in need.
Wow.
Now, if you can help them without hurting yourself, now that's the keys. Some people take advantage. Some people mistake kindness for weakness.
Right.
So again, that comes into discernment again, and you learn from your mistakes. You learn from being beat up by people taking advantage of you. At least I have over my years. But that's not going to stop me from being the giving person I am. But it sure makes you want to wonder, like, man, maybe I should be hard-nosed and don't do this or don't get this or whatever case may be. But I see it. God knows your intention. God judges you by your intentions, not the deeds. Because you may be doing deeds for a particular reason. So, your intentions, in my opinion, is important.
When it comes to nurturing relationships, it's so funny that you kind of started going in this direction, but I find that people will maybe give someone, I think my experience, well, a lot of times most people give the right things to the wrong people.
There you go.
And so
the stars don't align.
Yeah.
And when the stars align, it's a wonderful thing. Okay.
So the interesting thing about that is, I find that people give the wrong things or the right things to the wrong person. They get hurt in that process. So they've been giving the wrong guy 100%. Right guy comes, or the next guy comes, maybe he's getting 80% or 75% because they don't want to give 100%. And
that guy's paying for the sin to someone else.
Right.
And so vice versa, women do the same thing. When one guy gets taken advantage of, so he goes through a rush of, I got to pay back, get right. Like they call it, get right back because somebody else did me. And those two wrongs don't make it right.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing that I found, and you can kind of speak to this when it comes to nurturing relationships, is that it's you mentioned something earlier about consistency and being consistent, and I think that's holds true in relationships. You gave that person 100%, you got to give the next person 100% too, and let them just ruin it. And that's a hard thing to kind of come back from that. But if you are dialing it down, dialing it back, you never know if you're giving the right percentage to the wrong person if you're kind of delving that out.
Absolutely.
So,
but again, if you simple golden rule, if you're doing to others as you want someone to do unto you, 50%. If you're giving 50% to others, do you want somebody giving you 50%? So, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you do. Because, this thing called C word, karma. Karma comes back. And it may not come back right after the time you do something to somebody, but it comes back. It seems to. In my opinion.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right 100% on that. So let me have you kind of address the pitfalls of, you mentioned about transient pleasures and the search for a genuine companionship. Kind of speak to that for us and just kind of share what your thoughts are on that or how you relay that in the book.
Transient, you say it so very well. Transient pleasure. Well, the adventure, I guess when you're young, one would call it sowing your wild oats. And if you don't sow your wild oats, you may not get it out of you. So there you get into midlife crisis, and then you marry, have family, and then you start saying to yourself, what if? Why didn't I? Start questioning yourself. So then you start doing some things that you maybe shouldn't be doing. Well, DJ didn't have that problem. He did his thing. He did his thing. Okay. So there's no excuse. Like I said, it's like a kid in a candy store. So it's more, having relationships, having friendships is nice, but it's like I said, being a kid in a candy store. If you eat too much candy, at some point, you don't want candy that much anymore. It's not important to you like it was before. And I find that out with, not necessarily with relationships, but by doing the transient, like you're talking about, doing, meaningless, doing things for meaning, just to please other people. Bad. I mean, personally, in my life, as a basketball player, as a mayor, a lot of people come into your life, and especially if you have low self-esteem, you do some things maybe to please other people that you're not pleasing yourself, but you're really hurting yourself.
Indeed.
So I'll just ask people, just watch that. Just because you can don't mean you should. And when you do, check yourself. Are you doing it for the right reasons, for a good reason? And more importantly, is it because that's what you really want to do? Or is it because someone's asking you to do it? And when you can realize, do a self-analysis and come up with the answer to those questions, then you'll have a better self and a better you.
So there's a difficult balance in that from what we discussed earlier about the compromise thing also. So I think speak to the difference between kind of those two things, which seem juxtaposed in a sense that you're saying, hey, you don't really want to have someone else influence the things you're doing. You don't want to be upset for doing something you didn't want to do. But sometimes.
But think about this. About this. If you change yourself to meet someone's expectation of the way they like, you did. You made that change. And then they still don't like you or what you have changed into. Then who's losing out? The individual who's changing their life, right? So any life changes, anything you want to do, you need to want to do it. Now you want to do it for love, you want to do it for companionship, you want to do it to maintain a relationship. Well, if that's the case, whatever it is, verbalize while you're doing something so they can understand. And if you do that, if you revert back to doing what or modify it, then they can understand what you're doing. A lot of people don't do that. But hey, I'll compromise on this, but you got to show me some love. What are you compromising on? And if you're not willing to do that,
that's how you differentiate, or how you kind of tell.
Yeah, all right. I'll give you an example. I had a young lady once told me that it's my expectation that if you're courting me, that the male pay for everything up until we get married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, told me that.
Wow.
Told me that. We was friends for 2.5 years. Just friends. And I said, ho. You really mean that? Yeah. My husband used to do this, and my husband. I said, you don't have a husband, no? What happened? Well, he died. That's okay. I'm sorry to hear that. But you don't have a husband anymore. And what happened years ago, it's not happening now. And as my frat brother was called, would say, when you're dealing with especially high-value men, that's not an issue that one would look at you and say, huh? Really? Now, some people, as I said before, based on your love language, like to give gifts, like to be in control, because when they're giving gifts, they tend to want to be in control, right? Generally, you don't get anything, nothing for something. So you're usually paying for it one way or another. So, and it's okay, because I encourage everyone to read the book, The 5 Love Languages, or take the test. So if you're dealing with someone, at least you know what their love language is. You may not be the same. You don't have to be the same. But if you want to love that person and they receive your love, You need to love them in the way they generally receive it. And I'll give you an example. My love language is acts of service and quality time. Now, if I meet somebody and their love language is physical touch and receiving gifts, well, if I'm in a long distance relationship, well, physical touch ain't gonna work because I can't be there to touch them on a regular basis. And so the other way they're gonna love me is me sending them gifts. Now, I can get old real quick.
Right.
So a phone call or acts of service, all that watching, that ain't gonna work for them. So you gotta recognize who you fall in love with, and recognize how they receiving the love, a customer. Now then they can change, but more likely they won't. So if you're dealing with somebody who, let's say, like I said, words of affirmation, and you don't like giving out, hey baby, you look good, you're fine, this, that, and the other, you affirming their beauty or whatever, then that person is not going to love you because they're not receiving. And you saying hi every morning, but not giving them love, that they're not receiving your love.
Yeah.
That makes sense to you.
Yeah. So it's like the kind of like they say opposites attract, but I guess love languages need to be the same, similar.
No. You don't have to have the same love language. We can have two different people because generally you have a primary and a secondary, right? So you don't have to have the same love language. You have to be able to love them in the way that they will receive it, whether that's your love language or not. And if you don't, then no matter what you do, they're not going to feel the love you're giving them. You can say, I'm doing this, this, and this. And they'll say, but that's not my love language. I'm not feeling it. I didn't know you was loving me because you're not giving them the love that they're accustomed to receiving in their language.
Wow. Yeah, it's important. So let me ask you another important question. What kind of role does social commentary play in the narrative of the one and only?
I'm doing what I'm doing now, letting people know. Counseling. I have a doctorate degree in Christian counseling, and I find myself, doing the best I can to spread the word of maintaining a positive relationship to get in win-win situations. And too often a lot of people want to assess blame. Somebody's doing this, somebody's doing that. Wrong. And when you start attacking in counseling sessions, attacking one about who's at fault or whatever, people get defensive and they don't hear. You have to get in a situation, in my opinion, about win-win situation. What's going to be the best in order to make things right if two willing to work together. And take whatever faults people have and turn them around, how can we make it better to get to a place that both of y'all can work there.
So I want to say the one and only comes out tomorrow.
Yes.
Officially tomorrow. So you've had some feeders out there. We've put some things out there, let people know. What kind of reception are you getting from some of the people who've had a chance to get the book, read it, and go through it? What kind of what are you hearing about people who've read the book so far?
Great story, good storytelling. Some people give me feedback about great quotes, good one-liners. So I think it's something for people. Now it's hot. A lot, one of my frat brothers is hot, and
explain that. What does that mean?
Meaning that there's some salacious scenes. So if you have virgin ears, shut your ears and read. Don't worry about the overlay. Just go with the flow, because as you get to the ending, you'll see that it is well worth it. And then the conclusion at the end, I think, is thought provoking. It had people thinking, men and women.
So it kind of brings me to my next question. I wanted to ask you, what do you hope readers will take away from the book after they kind of read this hot book, this salacious book? What do you hope they kind of come away from this book with?
I hope they come away with, okay, this is a journey, and by the time the journey ends, the person grew up and sees life differently from where they started. And that's what you hope any journey would be, that you ain't the same person at the end from where you started. And through this life, through this journey, not a situation of hurting anybody, but that character gets hurt through different processes individual does. So it's not someone taking advantage of man taking advantage of female, or it's just, that's not how it is. When you go through a journey, you go through peaks and you go through valleys, and that's just life. You know, my life has been peaks and valleys. Right now, God has blessed me, and I'm living my best life. And I hope one can read through this and say, this is a great story, good concept. It was hot. But what you have to say at the end, in the conclusion, was worth the journey. Because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
And that step is getting the book.
That's right. Step one.
So listen, it's a big journey to I want to pivot a little bit to actually approaching writing a book. It's a big thing to actually even, if I can say, have the audacity to actually write a book or write a story or put this together. So I'm curious now, what kind of advice would you give to aspiring writers who are just has a story to tell? I believe everyone has a story to tell, and again, that's why one of the reasons why I got into the whole publishing realm is to help people publish those stories. But talk about with you, if there's any advice that you would give to an aspiring writer.
I would say just break it down in chapters of your life. Break it down. Don't try to do everything at once. It could be over months, it could be over weeks, it could be over years. But just break it down. Don't try to do everything at once. And then do it when you're feeling good. Not when you're frustrated, not when you're tired. 30 minutes, an hour. Put your thoughts. Whatever your thoughts is. If you're telling a story, or you're telling biofiction, or you're telling a biography, or whatever your is, just put it down. You can get it edited later. Somebody else can be professional to put it together for you if that's not your skill set. But put your thoughts down, and once they're down, later worry about putting it together in sequence, whatever. But too often we think that we have to go on this journey and write everything within 3 months or 2 months and get it done. And no, this was years.
Wow.
Years in the making. And never thought I was going to do it. Sometimes, but hey, just take your time, put your thoughts down, and just do it in your time, especially when you're feeling good about you. That would be my advice.
That's great advice. And that was kind of like the process. But I want to now know I want you to talk to people about what gave you the desire to actually do this. What was the driving force of putting this novel together?
Again, my driving force was being in the magazine and saying to myself, there's no backstories from people over the years. I never seen anything. Matter of fact, I tried to write Johnson & Johnson and said, hey, when reality TV came out, I said, man, wouldn't this be a lovely story?
Yeah.
To get everybody the bachelors and see, where are they now? What happened from that? They didn't want to bite it. And if I had the capital to do it at that time, I would definitely did it, because, that's where things are.
Right.
Reality TV now. But, going back over the years, 50, 40 years of Ebony doing this, what kind of stories you would have, good, bad, and different, where they are now. Maybe somebody still can do it.
Yeah, you know what? All those creatives out there.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's a crazy.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Something wonderful to drop.
If Housewives of Atlanta or whatever is good, think about what this would be, and people telling their stories live, and from where they were to where they are now. I think it will be a good feature to have.
So we're talking about The One and Only, great book. What are you doing now? Like, where are you at your life, and what are you let's talk about what you're...
Cooling in the shade, drinking lemonade. I'm just chilling. I still do a little refereeing basketball, retired. Do a little executive coaching. And I have other things, projects I'm working on overseas, but all on my time, no one else's time.
You know what? Listen, this has been a wonderful interview. I wish we could go on more and more of this. I want you to talk to people about where can they get the book, where can they buy the book, and then let's talk about this book signing tomorrow.
Oh, okay. You can buy the book, DJTheOneandOnly.com. Now, keep it real. That's where I want you to get the book. It is on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
It will be in Barnes and Nobles.
It's in Barnes and Nobles. It's wherever
Walmart.
Where you buy books.
Where you buy
Explain
books.
why you want them to go to your website.
Well, the reason why I want you to go to the website, because if you go to those other platforms, guess what? Who gets the most of the money? The other platform does. So, my platform, I get the most of the money. And what I'm doing is donating most of my receipts to the nonprofit that I have, helping veterans and giving scholarships out. 1911 United Inc.com. You can look at that. So that's where the resources are going, after paying for expenses to that nonprofit. We help veterans get their benefits, their 50, 70, 100%. And we give out annual scholarships. And then I hope to have an academy, entrepreneurial and leadership academy.
All right, so tell people where they can
The
see
book
it
signing tomorrow, June 15th.
June 15th, Carolina Kitchen.
Carolina Kitchen, Capitol Heights, right out where the old Hampton Mall used to be.
So they can be there between 1 and 4.
1 and 4.
Tomorrow. So again, Saturday, June 15th. Geez, I'm saying January. June 15th. Go out there, come out there, meet Donjuan, get a book signed. I'll be there myself as well. But yeah, we'd love to invite everyone who's watching this program to come out to the Carolina Kitchen on, I believe, Central Avenue. And great location, great food there. Grab a bite, grab something to eat, grab a copy of The One and Only, and get it signed.
Yes, sir.
All right. Listen, thanks a lot for coming
Appreciate
out.
you taking the time.
And thanks for tuning in to the Max Fortune Show. And again, we'll see you on the next episode.